And next we can talk about menus. So, definition of a menu is somewhat self-explanatory, but it can be tricky too because something that appears as a menu, you could, if you want to, do it as a subpage. But then you have to manage more of the functionality yourself. You'd have to build in custom logic to do what webhook will already do by default. So, for example, on this send site, this is a menu up here, as is this, as is the menu in the footer. We also have menus, different menus on the account page, for example. So if I want to go and modify my account, you'll see menu shows up here, has account information, save cards, banner cards, etc. Menus can be managed, as I showed you before, through the menu section. And this gives you a really nice and straightforward, clear way of handling specific functionality that you want to include. So it's got a hierarchical structure. We're looking at the portal site menu. That's this menu right here. Anything on the top level will be displayed directly here. Anything further down will be displayed in a drop-down underneath that its parent. So in the hierarchy, under My Links, you've got these 5 other menu items. And if you click under My Links, or hover over My Links, you will see those other 5 listed. Now, not everyone's going to see all of these. It is based on permissions. So, for example, Webhook Console. You look at the permissions for this. You can see that it's limited to administrators. Most users will not see that one there. If for whatever reason you want to make one inactive temporarily, you can also do it just by changing the menu status to inactive. Then nobody will see it, but it's still there in case you want to come back to it in the future. Or maybe you want to set something up that's ready, but you don't want it to go live until a certain specific time. You go in, you do everything in the console you need to have it ready, and then when the time comes, you just flip it from inactive to active, and now it's available. You can set the HTML on these menus as well, but you don't need to. By default, well, I mean, you kind of do if you want to. You need to style it the way you want to style it, but you don't need to worry about writing the code to fetch your menu items. That's all handled by what's managed in the console. You don't need to write a specific store procedure for this unless you're looking for some very specific functionality. Again, like any other piece of content, the HTML interface is the same. Body template, row 1 and row 2. So again, this is another good example of nested rows. Your body in this case isn't much other than a div to hold the rows as well as some JavaScript. And then your row template 1 will be this section right here. Each of these is an example of that. So row template 1, each one's a list item, has a link, has an unordered list, has a link with the name of it. And then in some cases where you've got links below that, you'll have an unordered list, and inside that you've got your nested rows. And so you can style this menu however you want it. If you want to change the color here, you just have a specific class in that HTML template, change your CSS, and now that can be blue or it can be white or whatever you want. It gives you the functionality to manage these menus using that same simple interface. We display them very differently. So these are horizontal, these are vertical, and then down here your footer menu is horizontal again. And you have different template at each level. So in this case, these are just one word, but on this level, you've got this grayish background. Over here, on one level, it's bolded with no link. The level below it, you actually have a link to something and a different font color. When you create a new menu item, it'll set you up with some of this by default, including the URL. It's best to leave the URL in this format, portal.aspx $CN equals, and then the menu link ID replacement value. That will come up for you automatically, and then that allows you to just go in here and select the content you want. So if you want to add the home page, just search for it, and it will show up. And that allows you to manage it entirely through here. You don't need to worry about even changing a link. You just pick something out, save it, and now your menu item is changed. So menus are included in a very similar method. Menus are included on a page in a very similar method to what we do for a subpage. Let's go back, look at our search results. Actually, everything seems to be hold on one second. Can you all still see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. All right, there we go. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my connection today. Let's just go back and look at the default shell. You've got your subpages menu item, and you've also got your menus menu item. It works in a very similar way. All the menus on the site show up here. You just click checkboxes on the ones you want, and if necessary, you can set the sort order and the caching as well. And again, just like subpages, if it's included, if the menu is linked to the shell or linked to the page you're on, the stored procedures behind it will be executed regardless of whether you actually have a place for that menu in the HTML. So make sure if you're removing that keyword from the HTML, you also remove the link from the shell or from whatever it's attached to.